Another big weekend at Gulfstream Park. I just got to hang out with my buddy Barry Spears last week at Gulfstream on Pegasus World Cup Day. And Barry, we were joking with Samantha Perry over there at Gulfstream. We weren't even finished with Pegasus Day, and they were already starting to prep for the Holy Bull and the Holy Bull Day because it's just another big day of racing coming up at Gulfstream, man. They have so much big action down there.
Yeah, the championship meet like every weekend, like it's always great. There's huge fields. There's always great grass racing. I mean, it gets to. I'm sure they're just. It's like a whirlwind. I
It's a
mean, just
marathon
turnover.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's tiring for them at the end of the meet and everybody working that. But yeah, we have some great action to talk about, and this weekend too. This is a fun one because we have 3 Kentucky Derby preps this weekend, worth Kentucky Derby points. We have the Withers at Aqueduct. We've got the Bob Lewis at Santa Anita, smaller field over there, but a couple intriguing horses. I think the best of the 3 races is the one that we're going to talk about in the Holy Bull. It seems like it's the most competitive, and there might be 3 or 4 different horses who we could legitimately say, oh, yep, that horse is going to be in the Derby.
yeah. I think this year, the field isn't too large, but very very big on quality.
Yep. So we're going to get into the late pick 5 for Gulfstream Park Saturday, February the 1st. Remember, if you want some help playing the races, head on over to shop.drf.com. Every day there's racing at Gulfstream Park. They have past performances for you, DRF picks. Mike Welsh picked one on top the other day, 45 to 1 shot. Fantastic job. He'll find stuff in the Clocker reports. And then the DRF picks there. So that's every racing day at Gulfstream Park. You can get the Clocker reports at Santa Anita as well. And Barry, you and I will try to get in some of these tournaments every now and then. There's a big one this weekend on Saturday. It's just a straight NHC qualifier over on XpressBet. And this one will be $1,500 to enter. It'll get you right into the NHC 2025 or 2026. Also, some cash prizes in there. And the race will be the final 4, or the contest will be the final 4 races from Gulfstream, and then the full card from Santa Anita. So a lot of what we're talking about right here, this pick 5, and then all of the races from Santa Anita, where the Santa Anita earlier part of the card, smaller fields. I saw, people were posting that the Santa Monica and also the Bob Lewis, not big fields. Later part of the card, though, solid. Bigger fields, the last couple stakes races, better betting opportunities. And you know what? When tracks do that, I'm fine with it. They put the smaller ones sometimes early, then you get the better pick 4 or pick 5 later in the card. So like any time of the year right now, there are a lot of things that we can be firing away on, man. Lots of opportunities.
So many options.
Yep.
It's endless, and that's the good thing for us horse players.
Because everyone's bankroll is different. How everyone plays is different. If you're more of a contest player, maybe you're someone who likes to play those coast-to-coast pick 5s, right, with the low takeout. They're $1 Gulfstream and Santa Anita. You could fire at those this weekend. Lots of different ways to play. We'll do our best to lead you in the right direction. Let's start in race number 8 as we look through the late pick 5 sequence. Couple of stakes races on the card on Saturday at Gulfstream. This one's a tricky 1 3/8 turf race to start. It's an optional 35 first level allowance race here, Barry. Some of the players, you have the one Rambling Wreck who doesn't win, but always comes running, stone cold closer. The 2 Lantheris, who actually had some legitimate trouble last time out. All 3 of the races are solid, and if he can put a couple together and maybe build off of that, he fits pretty well here. You have the 3 Classic Creation, another one just kind of solid fit at the level here. Those are a couple of the major players who I think will take a lot of the money. No real overwhelming standout in here, though. Kid Cairo to the outside, lightly raced, some upside, but a tough draw going long like this. Who are some of the horses that are on your radar in this pick 5?
Actually, I kind of think the 2 is a little bit of a standout here, just because of the race shape. These marathon events, it's really hard for anybody to really close on the Gulfstream turf in general, but there's really not that much pace in here. And I think Lantheris gets a really, 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 really good trip.
Bring me a check coming up.
So as you're talking, the race that we're watching was the one that this one exits last time out. So he's the 5. I'm gonna flash till a little later in the race because he starts to move and then he gets really kind of
He gets
shut
stalled out. Yeah.
horses late. And when think about that, at the end of a marathon race, when you've been kind of waiting, and building up your run, these aren't the types of horses that are able to kind of be like start, stopped, and then have another gear. It's once you've built yourself up like that, it's really tough to get stopped and stymied. So we're gonna watch the 5 a little farther into the race. Remember, they're going first time around, so the 5's down on the side. You can see, and we move now with the 5 in the red hat traveling pretty well. And you'll see just has to make some decisions, can't really go all the way around. So now is kind of committed to staying inside here. And right there, kind of making the decision, didn't want to go all the way around and have to go about 5 wide. So as the 5's moving in right now between horses,
There
just
it is.
just nowhere to go right here in between the 4 and the 6 and just gets stopped, has to kind of stymie. And as these other horses are just kind of grinding along, the 5 maybe doesn't win this race, probably third and pretty close. Like this is a horse who was traveling well right there, right? And the momentum was built up.
Yeah, I think he actually would have won that race.
And exactly that was a forget right. That was kind of like the kind way of that at least third, but honestly, the way that horse was traveling at the point.
Yeah, he had all the momentum, and he was traveling better than the horse outside of him too. It was just bad luck. I mean, that's all it was.
He feels like too, Barry, like his upside in this race. Like he might be the best horse.
Right. That's what I was
too,
getting at. Yeah,
right?
that's where I was going with it. He seems like the best horse in this race, and he's going to get the best trip. That's why I say he might be, what looks like a standout.
Yeah.
But there's 2 other horses in here that interest me at big prices. The first one is Tennessee Lamb. I think just the fact that this horse likes this distance should go a long way. I know this horse had a couple of races back, last summer on the turf, and they weren't that great, but it was kind of like a starting off point for that horse. So
he's just a better horse
and
now.
He's probably
too.
better now. Right.
Exactly. Right. He's bred for it. And he's a nice light. I in races like this, and it's not like I have a template for it, but in these marathon races or the real distance races, I like using horses like this that are lightly raced, that have a little bit of tactical speed, that sort of finally figured it out. Because that's really what it was with this horse, right? You can see they tried him sprinting on the dirt, then he's going like a mile on the turf, then he's going a mile and a 16th on the dirt, then he's off. So they're trying to figure it out in the first few races, but he just wasn't quite ready yet. He comes back. Okay, now he's improved. Now he's taken steps forward, but he's still got to figure things out a little bit. And in each of his races, you see him step forward, and then they figure things out. Okay, let's go a little bit longer.
To go long.
Because now he can just kind of, he can get out more, he can get more forwardly placed and not have to do it as quickly, not have to work as hard to do so. And then he'll have some stamina. He's bred beautifully.
Physically, I'd like to see this horse just because, that would tell
like
a lot. Right. That would say a lot about his running style. But yeah, I think he's very interesting. And the 11 Greystone is another one. Gets into the maker barn, gets Zayas, who's really hot right now. This horse likes this distance as well, I think. And, going into the maker barn has to be a little bit of a positive, even though he's not hitting at all cylinders right now.
The underneath horse for me, kind of building on your angle, I would throw in the 8 just as a horse that I'm hoping they send. Because if you look through his past performances, when he's up close, he's run some pretty good races when he's sitting close and when he's forwardly placed. Even that last start, he was third. He was only beaten an Eck against First Level Allowance Company at Churchill, going a mile and an 1/8. He feels like the type of horse who's quirky, and I think the first time gelding might really help a horse like this, give him a little more focus and get aggressive. So I don't know if he's good enough to win, but if you're looking for kind of a fun price horse to include at least in maybe exactas and tries, he could be forwardly placed. He could hang around for a share. And if you are spreading out, it might be him. I completely agree with you, Barry. I had the 2 on top. I just think he kind of stands out as a horse with the highest ceiling, coming off of a troubled trip. He puts 2 starts together. So now all 3 of his races in the U.S. really aren't bad. We just watched that last one that
He's unlucky.
could have been a little closer. He didn't run poorly in either of the 2 prior to that. And now he can just string a couple together. I think he fits really well. There's a look at race number 8, kick off the late pick 5 sequence. We move to the Swale. And what's fun about this race, Barry, it's a 7 furlong race for 3-year-olds. So these are horses that aren't running in the Holy Bull a little bit later for Kentucky Derby points, because maybe they don't want to go that far. Maybe they're not quite that far along yet. Sometimes connections will use this race as a stepping stone, from 6 furlongs to 7 furlongs, then to see, do my horses want to go a little bit longer, or can they get a little fitness in this race and then stretch out into another prep somewhere else? There's a couple really talented horses in here. The 2 Donut God, 2 for 2, no knocks in what he's done. Then you move to the outside. You've got the 6 Gunmetal. He won at Fairgrounds on December 26th. He earned a 96 Beyer speed figure that day. There's only been one horse this year that's run higher than a 96 Beyer speed figure for 3-year-olds. So he is right there towards the tip top as far as the fastest speed figures that we've seen run for horses in this age group. And then on the outside, you've got Grayscale, who was very good in his debut, winning for Safi Joseph Jr., who I think won 3 more on Thursday, as you and I are recording this after another fantastic day. It's been a great week for him at Gulfstream Park. So while this isn't the Holy Bull, there are a couple really talented horses in here that I wouldn't be shocked to see very good down the line, show up in a Kentucky Derby prep down the line. They're just using this as their stepping stone.
Yeah. These horses obviously are well meant and stretching out a little bit, and the races are getting a little bit tougher as they keep going. Horses like Gunmetal really, really give me a hard time, because typically, or let's say 90% of the time, horses that run a figure like this first time out don't match that.
Well, they can't go forward. They can't go upwards. They can only regress a little bit.
Exactly. And it's counterintuitive. It's counterintuitive to our process, because what we do typically is try to project the jumps up.
Absolutely.
Not how far they're going to come down.
And because naturally you just think a horse will improve second time out and as they get older. But sometimes, especially for barns like Brad Cox, Bob Baffert, the ones that are really good first time out, they have these horses ready to rock. They can get them ready in the mornings because they have such a good program that gets the horses fit, and they run their better race right away because whatever the circumstances are, right? They get a lead. There's not that much other speed. Whatever it is, they're just getting a great trip. The track's playing a little bit faster that day. Bunch of different reasons. But sometimes they'll be so fast, they'll catch a field in their second start where they can regress a bunch and still win.
Right.
Right. But this field, I mean, like just exactly what you're saying. And I'm glad you pointed it out this way. Like, let's say that Gunmetal just regresses a little bit, but at that very same time, Grayscale can improve a little bit. Because he ran fast, but not so fast that you don't think he can take a step forward. Like, what if Grayscale comes back with a similar race or a little progression and he throws up like a 90 Beyer? And then you've got Gunmetal, who still runs well, but he regresses and he's back to like an 85. Is that absurd for something like that to happen?
Nope,
no.
Not at all.
And so when you have a race like this, or you have a couple other tough horses, I'm usually looking for the progressing horse that might be a little bit better value.
Right. And to me, that's Donut God.
Yeah.
And then I would even throw in Gate to Wire in that same grouping, because this horse can pass horses. And then there's a situation here where it gets really hot. These horses are young. They're 3-year-old in number, but they just turned 3. And those paces get hot, especially going 7 furlongs and longer. And it kind of sets up in that favor. And I've seen both of Donut God's races, and I think this horse is pretty handy and doesn't need the lead to win. It's just a matter of the distance.
Named Naughty Rascal, who is like a really solid horse who came back, was put up via DQ in the Pasco, but he's been very solid. So he's kind of a nice measuring stick to use for Donut God. And
he kind of dominated that race.
Yep. It wasn't close. Even as close as the margin would look like. The 5, I'm glad you pointed him out too, because he's super easy to go through his form and see how it makes sense. Debut winner on the turf, comes back in his second start. He's very good. He finishes second in the Grade 3 Futurity. Then they put him in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint in his third start. A little bit too much there. He has some trouble. He's wide, so he's got a tough trip. He's parked out there, and he's in between horses. Just put a line right through that Breeders' Cup race. He shows back up on January the 9th. It's a race. It's the come back off the bench. It's the shake off some of the rust. And he does not run poorly in that race. It's on the synthetic. The key is there was no passing in that race.
No pass.
Look at how it's set up. Turbulent Force won wire to wire. Bound for Trouble, who was second all the way around the track. The third and fourth place finishers were fourth and third all the way around the track. So they were 1, 2, 4, 3, basically all the way around with 0 passing. So that's a great race for him to come back, shake off some of the rust, and now he actually goes on the dirt for the first time. And we know that he can pass horses a little bit. He's pretty interesting at a price. My other price
Even the
horse.
one. I mean, the one, if you can think if the one can, that start really crushed the one last time.
He had no chance there. And then Guns Loaded just got the lead.
They just let him go, and it was the easiest of all trips. And I can forgive that. But if you can believe or think that Macho Music can sit slightly off the pace,
that's the key for him.
This one is another one that can be in the mix as well.
Cutting back, have a little bit of punch.
Mm-hmm.
My other fun underneath horse, if you watch Mater D's race, this is a kind of a strange spot.
Yeah.
So it's a low buyer speed figure, but I've pointed this out a few times. Barry is good at Turfway. Barry knows, he sees the ball really well over there. The Turfway speed figures are always lighter coming out of the synthetic races. Mm-hmm. They just don't run as fast on a synthetic surface as you do on a dirt surface or sometimes on the turf. So your speed figures aren't as fast. They're just not as high. That doesn't mean these horses aren't as good. Just sort of note that. And when you watch the race, what I liked was he was really wide all the way around the track, kept going. He could sit a nice trip. Johnny V jumps aboard for Doug O'Neill. Just kind of a random horse to show up in this spot. But what also is kind of cool, I think he went back last week with some of the O'Neill horses that were probably going back to run on Pegasus Day, because he's got to work at Gulfstream Park last week, which is pretty cool. Just to get a run around the track, always positive to get a little familiar and to get acclimated too at a very big price. This is an interesting race. It really is.
Yeah, it's to me, it's up for grabs. I mean, the only horse I really couldn't make too much of a case for is Fire Pit.
Yeah.
But other than that, anybody else can win for sure.
We kind of hit on him a little bit, but Grayscale was super impressive in that debut. And what's nice, he's got the outside draw, and he's proven at Gulfstream Park too. So he didn't have the smoothest start, and then he had a quick recovery, and he was able to shoot up the inside to lead. And now he gets to the outside. Irad jumps aboard. The outside 2 will take a ton of money. Donut God as well. Those are like the top tier. But then after them, you have a couple really fun prices, like who Barry was mentioning in the 5 gate to wire, who we want to not go gate to wire. We want to be sitting off the pace in this particular race. And the 3 Mater D is kind of fun. The 1, you can even project a trip. Came back and worked really well after that bad start on January the 4th. A fun renewal of the Swale. Race number 9 on Saturday at Gulfstream Park. Let's move to the 10th. This one is the Kitten's Joy. These are 3-year-olds going a mile and a 16th on the turf course here. Some of the major players in this one, you have Tiz Dashing, who was a runner-up last time out in a stakes race over at Belmont at Aqueduct. Every time I see this horse, I have to go, is walking in Memphis, is walking with my... Every single time I see walking in Memphis there. Test score makes a lot of sense, too, for Graham Motion. He broke his maiden at Keeneland, then came back and was a very good second in a stakes race at Del Mar on November the 1st. You can see Coco Cool getting some support. And then you have the sharp Mibago, who's won 3 of the last 4. He's won back-to-back races on the front end. So, yeah, not necessarily a standout in this race. A couple horses who are in that top tier. Who do you want to start with, Barry?
You know, this race is really interesting for the fact that Dale Romans has a horse in here. And I do like this horse, the 3 Maui Strong. His horses on the turf have been just impressive all, like, I'd say probably from last August to the present. Coppola is running lights out. He has a horse who I liked at Keeneland by the name of Native Shaman that likes to go long on the turf, who's excellent. The horse that came out of his race, Tough Little Nut, has won 2 stake races out of that one. I think Maui Strong is good.
I like
how
the
fact the horse improved on a surface he probably didn't like and gets back to the preferred surface of the turf. And that little bit of improvement, even with Mibago in this race, I think this horse can turn the tables.
Well, that's the key is the presence of, I think, some other speed horses in here that are going to make life difficult for Mibago, because Maui Strong was chasing. He had a slow start. He was about 7 lengths off. He made an early wide move up to 4th, and then he just kind of kept grinding into 3rd, but he was chasing a lone speed winner that day. And I respect Mibago. He's been really honest. But now, if you look at the company that he's facing in this race, it's going to be a little bit tougher. Like, he lost to Test Score, and he was 45-1 in that race at Del Mar, where Test Score was 12-1 and a little bit more of a logical contender in that spot. You've got Coco Cool, who could show a little bit of tactical speed right inside. You've got Walking in Memphis, who went gate to wire in his debut. He would likely be showing speed again. You've got Charlie's to Blame, who could be showing speed. And even down on the inside, Mibago was faster than Entered the Dragon a couple starts back. But with the inside draw, I think if you're on Enter the Dragon, you're probably thinking our best chance is to be either on the lead or forwardly placed. We certainly don't want to be coming from way, way out of it and trying to kick with the deeper closers in here. I think it's just going to be a tougher race for Mibago the way it shapes up.
Yeah, I agree. He didn't draw that great. He's got to use a lot of his speed, and there's others in here. Like you said, the 7 Coco Cool definitely is on my radar. It's rare that you see horses like this that win consecutive starts with descending buyers, but it's also, I think, a positive.
And I was just talking about surfaces too, right?
Right.
Different surfaces, this happens.
Exactly. And I think he probably didn't run his best race that day at Turfway, but I do think that there's this breakthrough pattern that I always talk about. And I think the surface point is where it's at here instead of the actual number.
Beat a horse named Baby Max, who just came back to win the Leonidas Stakes and earned a 79 buyer speed figure in doing so.
Papiamento is a pretty decent horse.
Also, I think the 7 makes a ton of sense. And what is nice too is
gets IRAD too. I mean, that might be the turnoff, because this horse might get bet.
But yeah, and absolutely, right? Maybe get a little bit of play, but a lot of things that are just positives. You got the tactical speed to keep close, but the ability to finish. I think she makes a lot of sense, or he makes a lot of sense. And then the 6 to me was obvious too. You look at his first couple races, he loses to Governor Sam, who came back, was 3rd in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint after winning 4 straight races against turf sprinters. He was really good there. So Test Score is just chasing a fast horse. Then he loses to Zulu Kingdom, who comes right back out of that race to win the Pilgrim. And this horse was not even 9-2 in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf, was one of the top contenders in there. Comes back, breaks his maiden finally, and then he loses to a horse named Chasing Liberty. And this race has already come back live. We've already seen Chasing Liberty, Mibago, Artislas, Smash It, Kale's Angel, all come out of this race to win. And Chasing Liberty sat pretty close. He was winning his 2nd start in a row.
Strong race.
You have Artislas, who came out of that race to win the Eddie Logan Stakes. you've got Smash It, who comes out of this race to win a stakes race over at Zia and earn an 80 buyer speed figure there. And then you've got Kale's Angel, who cuts back in distance, wins the Advent. Actually ran a pretty good race when he was third in the Smarty Jones. He's a good sprinter. That's just the key for him. His 2 last races sprinting were both stakes wins. So this was a good field here that test score was in front of. My top 2 were I had them 3, 6, 7. Who were the horses we just were hitting on?
I had 3, 7, 6.
Yeah. Just feel like the horses that should get the best trips in here because of some of these other speed horses.
Yeah, no, this is a real, as they say overseas, a cracker of a race.
Yeah. 4 hasn't done anything wrong. I thought the others might just have a little bit, maybe more upside, more value. It's a good effort. Beat a horse named Hit That Review in the debut. That one came right back to win their next start. So not an easy race here, but maybe we can get some value with Maui Strong, with Coco Cool, and possibly even Test Score. The Kitten's Joy, race number 10 on Saturday at Gulfstream Park. We move to the Holy Bull. This one is a grade 3 Holy Bull. Kentucky Derby points are on the line for the top 5 finishers in here. You have Ferocious, who he's a quirky horse. A super talented horse, but quirky, and the blinkers could really help a horse like this because the Hopeful was a race that he looked like he was done at the top of the lane. He looked like he was backing up, and he was kind of floundering. You can even see in the running line, he dropped back from 3rd to 4th. He was about 2.5 lengths off, and then Chancellor McPatrick starts to roll, and as Chancellor McPatrick was passing Ferocious, it kind of kicked him into another gear, and he tries to move with Chancellor McPatrick. He ran really well to finish 2nd, and then in the Breeders' Futurity, he's kind of fractious in the gate. He's bumping around a little bit, and he misses the break. And then in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, last time out, he has a fine start, but he runs into some traffic.
Didn't even get a chance to run.
No, he just wasn't really aggressively handled and persevered with there. So he should really get some help, I think, with the blinkers and a couple months off to maybe grow up a little bit, to mature, to develop. And it's a great spot for him.
I like him a lot.
A starting point, because there's just not everyone else there's question marks about. And there's 1 or 2 of these other horses that I like, but this is a really good spot for him. I wouldn't be shocked if they try to get him a little more into the race too with the blinkers on, because they know he's classy. Hey, let's just get him in here earlier on. I don't know about on the lead, but in his first couple races, how he was sitting 3rd, something more like that.
Yeah. I think that's the plan, is to get a little bit aggressive, especially putting the blinkers on. I was actually kind of surprised they didn't try that last year.
Me too. Yeah. And there might be a reason. Maybe there was. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, there could be a whole bunch of reasons, but I definitely know, and I watched every single one of these races intently. He just didn't get any breaks, just didn't get any. And the horse was running every time and trying. That's what I liked about it.
That's the key. He didn't back up. He didn't stop. In the races when stuff didn't go his way, and he had every right to back up and just finish last a couple times, he still dug in and tried. Even in the Breeders' Cup, he still wants to pass and be mid half the field in a race where there wasn't any passing. And it did not shape up for him at all. And he got stuck in traffic and still ran a solid buyer speed figure there that day too.
Absolutely. And honestly, this is how I see this race. If just anybody pressures guns loaded, there's hardly anything that could stop Ferocious from winning this race.
And I was disappointed in, and maybe we shouldn't always do this, but that race that Guns Loaded ran last time out, he got everything his own way. It was such a perfect spot, easy lead, and he was stopping late. I don't know how far he wants to go. I also don't know how good overall he is.
Yeah, I'm doubting it also.
He could, and he might be one of the horses who is a little precocious, a little bit ahead of some of these. The one that I do like a little along with him is the 3, Tappan Street, and I'll show some of the race last time out. When I was watching this race too, because he was this highly regarded horse, they paid a lot for him. He's a little buzzy. I was surprised that he didn't take more money in his debut. He's actually the second choice, but he's the 7 in this race that we're watching. And it's not the easiest of trips because I think he was asked a little bit more early to try to keep up with this group. He's kind of in the 2-path in between horses, and he doesn't really get a breather for a lot of this race. He has to hold that position. Now he's like 3 deep and in between horses, which isn't the easiest spot. Like right about here, 7 looks done. Right?
Yeah, he's between horses. That's like
he's
the
kind
worst
of
spot to be in. Yeah.
And even right here,
comes
he backs up a little bit more, like right here. Yep. He absolutely looks done right here.
Yeah, he's pushing. Like, he's pushing hard.
He's just like backing up. Horse to the outside of him passes. And then watch as he just gets a little bit of daylight. Right here, it sort of opens up and there's racetrack in front of him for the first time. And now look at this horse kind of stretch out. He's green even right here, and watch when he like boom, okay, switch into lead. I'm just gonna inhale this horse and go right by. I thought the way that he moved late in this race showed that this horse has some real ability. I kind of get when I'm watching horses, every once in a while at this point of the year, we're watching these horses with the idea of like, are they a Derby horse and this or that? Sometimes I'll get that little like, oh, okay.
What's that?
I kind of did when I was watching that race going, because I was like, man, this horse is done. This horse is backing up. And he seems like 7 furlongs might not have even been what this horse wants.
Yeah, he wants to go longer. I mean, you can tell this horse
wins race, even though that was not at his best. And I think he's the one that can possibly be sitting right behind Guns Loaded.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm just looking at 2-3.
Yeah,
that's
what it looks like. I mean, honestly, that's what it looks like. And the only thing between the 2 and the 3 is experience.
Yep, and foundation.
Ferocious has a lot of experience and a little bit more foundation. That's but as talent goes, they're pretty much on par.
Yep, and I had a fantasy horse racing draft the other day. Both of these I snagged in my league. So I've got both Ferocious and Tappan Street. Hopefully some good races from them. What I just love to see. Good race, hit the board, stay healthy, and then move on to the next spot. Wherever it's going to be. If you stay at Florida for the Fountain of Youth, or maybe you wait, you go to the Florida Derby, you move somewhere else. Hopefully we can get a nice moving point for both of them. I think to the outside, you've got the horses who you're looking at that could maybe close if they went too fast, like Burning Glory.
Right.
But it could be tough for him at Gulfstream Park if he gets outrun a little bit. He's not that fast early on. So is he going to be too far out of it at Gulfstream? Burnham Square, they kind of got away with him. They put him in for that high-level maiden claiming in the debut. He has some ability. They just threw him pretty much towards the front end last time. He was a little slow early, and then they went, boom, let's just go right to the front. He earned a nice speed figure. So those are the kind of the 2 outside horses that I could see people think it could pick up some pieces in here. I just don't think it's going to be that fast of a pace early.
Yeah, it doesn't project to be, but we got to get somebody to get in Guns Loaded way at least. Just menace him for a little bit. Not
make
even
him
all
work.
The whole. Yeah, just
breathe down his neck a little bit, keep him honest, and hopefully set up for maybe that next tier of runners, Ferocious and Tappan Street. Let's finish up the Gulfstream Park Saturday card with the grade 3 forward gal. We have the Queen's MG, who's so funny because this filly has wins at 45-1 and 44-1. You just don't see that all too often. And she is a grade 3 winner. You have Justin Queso, who was put up via DQ after her career in that maiden breaking score. You also have Eclatant, interesting for Brad Cox. Rojo Rita, very impressive. 16-length winner for Safi Joseph Jr. in the debut, earned a nice speed figure. And then I was joking with our producer, Bobby, from DRF when we were doing the video for this race. And I said, I'm still a little woozy because before the video, I got a stone cold stunner from producer Bobby over there. And then after he was like, Gino, I'm sorry if I did something. I was like, Bobby, no, I'm joking, man. I was just talking about stone cold Steve Austin. So I was having some fun with Stunner there, who's who's going to cut back there. It's the weekend of the Royal Rumble, Barry. I'm going to put you in our Royal Rumble pool again on Saturday. So
okay.
you'll have a couple numbers to check out. Talk to us about the forward gal. Who are some of the horses on your radar here?
A horse that's really interesting to me is the 5 Beyond Belief. It's weird how this horse is just kind of dismissed and runs good every time. There's no reason, honestly, for this horse to be that price on the morning line, I don't think.
So she hooked a sloppy track last time out, and
Right.
she was a clear second. And look who she faced, a filly in 2 starts back named Caprice. This horse is 6 for 7. This is a nice filly,
Right.
that she was behind.
I mean, I'm a little perplexed, but I'll take it because I think this horse has a big shot. I mean, yes, it has to get a little faster, but don't they all? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think a horse like Justin Queso or Rojo Rita could do exactly what they did the last time.
There's a
This
lot.
race
It's a big field
shapes up. Yeah, it
with a
shapes up
lot of
very
other speed.
interesting. Yeah.
So I'm not sure if she's going to get the kind of trip that those soft trips. The one that I think makes a lot of sense in here too is Eclatant.
Yeah,
because
that one. That's the other
she
one.
fits. She makes like she tried to go longer last time out. It was too far. She lost to Good Cheer, who's undefeated. She's shown us that she can sit off the pace sprinting and she can finish a little bit. Like she feels really solid in this spot.
Yeah, she fits like almost too good to be true.
I know, you're right, because it feels like she's going to get bet quite a bit.
Oh, she's definitely going to get bet.
Because she just feels like she makes a lot of sense. She really does. Like she'll probably be closer to 3 to 1. I'd say because
no way. I think she's going to be
probably
favored.
Yeah, no, and
look
you're
at
right.
Her 3 races.
She might be. No, you're right. And the only thing I was wondering is because you do get horses like the 9 that get bet off of the big race like that, where they win by 16 lengths. But the 7 just looks like such a solid fit in here. You're right. It wouldn't be shocking to me if she's lower than that, if she's like 2 to 1-ish range.
Yeah, I would think she's going to be vying for favoritism here just off of that last race alone.
It's good. It's just really
Cheer,
good.
Quiet Side. Those 2 horses would be pretty easy in this spot. Would be, easy favorites. The Queen's MG, I think, also fits the bill. I was actually kind of happy to see this horse kind of bounce back in the Tempted a little bit.
Yeah, with the good third.
Yeah, because usually we see these kind of horses just sort of fizzle out after they run good in the summer.
Precocious and then just ahead of the group, and then they're not really that good. But that was actually a career best speed figure for her, and she should be better cutting back.
I think so as well. I think this horse is more of a 7 furlong type horse anyway, and might get dismissed again on the board, and I hope so. Even with IRAD, I think that horse might get dismissed. So yeah, this is an interesting race. I couldn't fault anybody for most of these horses.
Yeah, a lot of them you could make a case for. We said about the 2, the 3 did not run poorly in the debut. You were building the case for the 5. The 6 needs to get a little faster. I think she's kind of like a grinder. She actually liked going a little bit longer. I think that was kind of helpful for her. Eclatant makes a whole lot of sense. The 8 races aren't bad. She has to get faster, but her races sprinting, she was in a race with a couple next out winners. The 3rd place finisher came back and earned a 70 buyer speed figure. Rojo Rita makes a lot of sense. Frida, she was against Florida Breds, but that was a really good effort. She's fast. And then Stunner, none of them would really shock in here. In a tough little forward gal to finish up. I'm not sure if you heard in the background, Stephanie was laughing because there's a shelf here that's fallen on my head like 3 times in the last 2 weeks. She's trying to kill me, Barry. So when I get knocked out sometime soon, we know it was Stephanie. She didn't screw these shelves in all the way and it falls on my head and I just a big crash in the background and stuff. So, just remember, we've got it recorded. We've got it documented now for when I'm gone and they're doing the investigation and everything. So,
well, you know what else is funny? My wife just heard me say Justin Queso and she is dying laughing.
Oh, she was like, "Did you just say that?" You're like, "No, that's the horse's name, right?" That's great. She's like, were you being that cheesy?
There
See what I did there? You see what I did? Well, folks, we come to the end of another one of our preview videos. We appreciate all of you hanging
we
out
aren't
with us.
Comedians.
We're not. I was going to say we'll stick to playing the races. We will. And we will remind all of you that you can head to shop.drf.com. PPs, DRF picks, clocker reports. Also, that big NHC qualifier this weekend on Saturday at XpressBet. Barry, before we get out of here, talk to us about the notorious OTB. I've noticed you guys have been busy too. I saw you dropping some bombs early week at Mahoning Valley. Was that right?
Yes, sir. We do a little pick 3 action on Mondays at Mahoning Valley because it's their low takeout play on their race day. So we do that. We do a little best bets, long shots at parks. So we get a little bit of stuff in during the week, and then we have our long show, which we did Aqueduct this week, Withers card. So our $100 budget game is the Withers this week. So check us out. We do some interesting new stuff, and give us a holler.
We'll be checking out the notorious OTB. Barry's here with us each and every week. Make sure to subscribe below. Leave some selections. Who do you like in the Holy Bull? Who do you like in the Forward Gal? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Make sure you subscribe. Head on over to shop.drf.com. Good luck this weekend playing the races at Gulfstream Park.